felt the Lord draw me back to a passage I haven't talked about in quite some time. I'm sure I've talked about it here in the past. But he's been, through these dreams, he's been reawakening in me the revelation of just how powerful our history with him is. I mean, Tim actually said in that prophecy, I tried to write some of it down. Respond with me and reset history. A supernatural reset. I will reset the history of America. So, I've been meditating on this for days. The power of covenant, the power of what he said then and what we agreed to with him then, with what he did with our forefathers, with what he did through past covenants, the synergy of the ages. And so he took me back to David and Goliath. David, he defeated that giant through his history. And I'll do this quickly because it's a message in and of itself. But David shows up at the place of the battle where Goliath had been coming out, flushed out, now openly defying, openly mocking God and the armies of God, celebrating pride, hanging it front and center at the highest place that represents the highest authority in our land, maybe the world. This is mine now, he's saying. Goliath mocks not just this army, but their God. It's the first thing I saw, the first thing I said when I saw the pictures. You saw the pictures. Nudity and mocking there on the White House lawn. First thing I saw, mocking spirit. It's a mocking spirit. Love those people. I'd love to lead every one of them to Jesus. I wouldn't hurt them. I love them. But I hate the demon behind what's happening. I'll go so far as to say, not only do I love them and the Lord loves them, he's going to save a bunch of them. He loves them. Mocking. And he does this to Goliath. So here are 5 or 6 proofs in this passage that David drew on the power of his history with God to defeat the giant. God tells us in the first 2 verses the location of the battlefield. And you don't recognize it if you don't. I didn't until I studied a little more. I didn't know that Sokah and the valley of Elah and whatever else name there. I didn't realize that was in Judah, David's tribe. So in the very first 2 verses, God is telling us prophetically, symbolically, David, this alone is enough to give you what you need to defeat him because he's standing on the land I gave you. I gave this to your great-great-great-great-great-granddaddy. And they can't override what I did when I said, this is a nation is to be a city set on a hill, an evangelist to the world. It's my earth, and I delegate responsibility and stewardship of it to who I want, for what I want. And this giant with his mocking spirit, he can't change what I said. Command to the forward. That was enough right there. Battle's over. If David has a revelation that I believe he had, battle's over. This is what Nehemiah said when he went back to rebuild the wall, and the opposition immediately in chapter 2 began to come against him. And he said to him in verse 20, one of the reasons he said he was going to do this and he was going to prevail is he looked at them and he said, you have no right or memorial to this city. And then the other translations, some of the literal translations say what he really said was, you have no historical right to this city. But I do. The expanded Bible says you have no historical, ancient right to this city, but we do. So you commanding the forward is to get out, get somewhere in your backyard or basement or wherever you want to, right here, and find where Washington, D.C. or Cape Henry is, and point to it and say, you don't have the historical covenantal right to possess this place. It's ours. Therefore, we win, you lose. That is commanding the forward. Then David, you know this, David wouldn't call him by name. Never referred to Goliath by his name. Now, Goliath didn't either. Goliath called himself, in this passage, the Philistine. I am the Philistine. David changed it. And he said, no, you're not the Philistine. You are the uncircumcised Philistine. Well, what's that all about? You're not trying to put him down because of his body parts. Any serious scholar would know that what David is doing is saying circumcision is the sign, the seal, the picture of covenant with God. I am in covenant with God. You are not. You can call yourself whatever you want. I'm calling you the Philistine that's not in covenant with God, and I am in covenant with God. Therefore, I win, you lose. Anytime you see this nonsense in the news, just stand up in your living room and begin to prophesy. The covenant of the Lord with this nation and the covenant made at Cape Henry and elsewhere will prevail. I prophesy and command the forward into this nation right now. This attempt to take over and stop what God raised up this nation to do and be will not succeed. Just prophesy it. Then he starts talking about the lion and the bear, his history. Then he says, is there not a cause? One of the meanings of that word, dabar, is history. Is there not a history? I'm not going after you based on my tenure or size or my tenure as a warrior, my experience. I'm coming after you based on my history with God. All the way back to my forefathers. My history will defeat you. And to prove it, when he ran to the battle, he grabbed his staff and took it with him. Why in the world would you want to face a giant with one of your hands occupied by holding your staff? We could do club this giant. Because they carved their history into their staff. It was the diary of a shepherd, or these men that carried these staffs. They had pictures and words or symbols all over these staffs to remind them of their history, especially their history with God. So David grabs his stick with a picture carved into it of a dead lion. And down below that, there's a dead bear. And he grabs his history and runs to the battle. Let me say it this way. He grabs his forward, and he runs to the battle. I'm gonna overthrow you, defeat you based on what my God did yesterday. He's gonna do it again. Then David grabbed those 5 stones from the brook. Now, there are different Hebrew words for a brook or a stream, just like we do. We got a creek, a stream, a brook, a river. Well, there's different Hebrew words for rivers and streams. This word, and you can't, don't think for a minute these things are coincidental. God's the one that chose what word was going to go in there. And this one is literally a root word in Hebrew. The root meaning of the word, the literal meaning of the word is inheritance. Say, huh? Yeah, because the Hebrew language is a picture language. Word paints a picture, and from that and the context you put that picture in there, then the reader or the listener knows how to interpret it. And so this word means to receive something, and now you have the authority or the ability to control where it goes. So a stream bed, brook, the one used here, means you are given or you collect water, and now you, stream bed, control where it goes. So it became the word for inherit or inheritance. You've been given something. And now you have the authority to determine where it goes. It's your inheritance. So David grabbed his history in one hand and reached into his inheritance and grabbed 5 stones. What must everyone have thought? He grabbed the forward. He carried the forward to the battlefield. And then the final picture of his covenantal history is the tribe he was from. You all know what the word Judah, the name Judah means, right? Come on, tell me. Praise. But not really. Not literally. That's a derived meaning because of the picture, just like brook is. Because the word in Hebrew literally means to extend the hand. Judah. So the reason it became praise, the word for praise, is because you extend your hands in worship. But because it means, it also is the word for throwing stones. He who throws a stone. Yeah, you just got to get in the mind of God. So it's just so hard. That's not easy, is it? It's like, what is he trying to show us? Well, this is the way I envision it. David is a young kid out there on the hillside watching the sheep. Got all these animals that want some dinner. He has to get proficient with a weapon. He's probably does a lot of thought and what do I want to use? A bow? I can kill him from a distance. A spear, maybe. Then I think Holy Spirit reminded him, who are you, son? Go back in your history. What does the foreword say about your tribe? were stone throwers. David decided, I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be what God prophesied about us several hundred years ago, and I'm just going to command the forward. And he carried that to the battlefield. And he flung his Judah DNA, his Judah covenant, his Judah history on his Judah land. And he commanded the covenant right into the forehead of that giant. I don't know if God, for me, could have given us a more powerful and encouraging word for this season than to say, here's how I want you to do this. He didn't say fast 40 days. He didn't say, what you put in there, what would be hard? Work, go without sleep. He said, here's how you're going to release what I want to do. And here's how you will prevail and cause the reset and the bringing down of this uncircumcised company of people trying to take this land. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to command the forward. You're going to take what I say about America, what I plan for America, and you're going to speak it into the atmosphere. You're going to flood the heavens with my words. And my words are going to penetrate. They're going to break. They're going to tear down. They're going to pluck up. They're going to overthrow. And then they're going to build and plant. Because my words are more powerful than anything the enemy could ever do.